Hello, my name is Rose Riley, and I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of Washtenaw County. Welcome to our online candidate forum for the November 5th general election. The League is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization that promotes voter education and participation, and we host candidate forums to help voters make informed choices. Now, let's hear from the candidates.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Smerick, and I will moderate the forum tonight. It's my honor to introduce the candidates running in the November general election for Webster Township Supervisor, Democrat Michael DeAngelo and Republican John Kingsley. Thank you, candidates, for participating tonight. We're now ready. We're going to start with opening statements. So we're now ready for your opening statement, Mr. DeAngelo.
Hi, my name is Mike DeAngelo, and I'm a 30-year resident of Webster Township. I'm an attorney. Most of that time I've spent being a senior research attorney at the Court of Appeals, and I also work for a number of Supreme Court justices. Also a farmer and first generation, and farm hay, and we have cattle and horses and chickens and ducks and many silky fainting goats. I've been a volunteer. So I was on the Dexter District Library for 14 years, including when we were building the new library. And I'm currently the chair of the Natural Features Committee. And I'm recently retired, so that's why I decided to run. And hoping that my unique skills and knowledge will help me give back to the community. And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. DeAngelo. And now, Mr. Kingsley, may we have your opening statement, sir?
I don't think that Mr. DeAngelo's goals and mine are all that much different. I believe that both of us want what's best for the township. I'm a fairly newcomer. I moved into the township in 1991, and I joined the Planning Commission in 1993, and I was chair of that for many years. I became a trustee, and finally I was appointed and then reelected for a couple terms as supervisor. I think that the main goal that I have is being supervisor of Webster Township is to make it a great place, continue to keep it a great place to live. And I'm sure that's also a goal of Mr. DeAngelo.
Thank you, Mr. Kingsley, and thank you for the candidates. Now to the questions. We'll start with the first question for you, Mr. Kingsley. Should preserving the township's agricultural character be a goal of the township board?
I believe it's one of the top goals of the township board. We need to make clear what preserving agriculture is versus the rural feel of the township. Agriculture is a commercial endeavor that the overall economy is the controlling factor. The rural character is what the township looks like when you drive through or live here and look out your window. I think that the township can do an awful lot in terms of rural character, in terms of the economics. I think the fact that corn last month was the same price per bushel as it was in 1972 kind of tells you something about the agricultural endeavor in the township, and that's why we have very few full-time farmers, but I support them 100%.
Thank you, Mr. Kingsley. And the same question to you, Mr. DeAngelo.
Yes, so I do also agree with Mr. Kingsley. So I moved out here a long time ago because I was in a city and I decided that I wanted to come out where it was a little more land and a little more, I guess, freedom to do strange things like try to learn how to farm. I do agree that like there's a lot of problems facing agricultural like farmers. We really don't have a whole lot of like actual big farms. Um, although preserving the rural character of the township, we've done a really great job on enacting like reserving development right or monies, and I think that's really important. I think that's why a lot of people moved here, just to, you know, it's a lot easier to relax. It's a lot easier to just basically enjoy what we have. But I do think, I mean, I obviously without you can't just have the farm sitting there without anybody working them. So I think we should support the agricultural industry as best we can. So that's what I think too.
Well, thank you, Mr. DeAngelo, and you start off the next question.
Okay.
The township spends about $445,000 a year on police services, and those services, police services, are purchased from Washtenaw County, and spends almost $1 million a year on fire safety services purchased from Dexter. Are these satisfactory and cost-effective arrangements in your view?
Well, it's kind of hard to tell because I don't really know how much the budget is for each individual officer to be in the township. I do realize that we're kind of rural, so we do need sufficient services to actually reach us. I do notice that a lot of what the sheriffs and the fire department do in the town, it's kind of difficult to figure out whether our services like reflect our contribution to the other, you know, it's hard because I don't really know how much. I believe we have the correct number of services. I'm glad we have a new fire station. It makes it a lot easier in case someone around here has a problem. And so, yes, in all, I'm satisfied with what we pay and how much services we get.
Thank you, Mr. DeAngelo. And Mr. Kingsley, same question to you, sir.
I believe that our both our public safety services are very expensive. The county dictates, we do not negotiate what we would have to pay per officer. We do contract for 2 full-time officers. I think it's very expensive, and I think the county ought to step up and pay more of that. In terms of fire services, they're not provided by Dexter. They're provided by DAFD, Dexter Area Fire Department, and we are 1/3 basically of that fire department, and we do it based on pay for it based on runs, and the costs have escalated dramatically over the years for us to provide the service. And when we talk about fire, we aren't talking about fires for the most part. 93% of our runs are medical runs. So it's kind of a misnomer. It's emergency services. And we have done the best that we can to improve the emergency services up in the northeastern part of the township. And that was by building a new fire hall approximately 3 years ago.
Thank you, Mr. Kingsley. And you're the first one on the next question. What is the most significant challenge Webster Township faces in the next 5 years?
Well, I think that the biggest challenge we have is showing up a little bit in terms of what the Planning Commission has had to deal with recently, and that is a lot of people have moved to our township because it's very desirable. We're a bedroom community for Ann Arbor, obviously, and there's differences of opinion as to what should be allowed in the township, how it should be allowed, and in terms of moving forward, we can't just overnight change what a small minority of our residents want. We kind of need to keep things steady and update our ordinances and so on, and try not to create conflict between new residents and older residents and neighbors.
Thank you, Mr. Kingsley. And Mr. DeAngelo, same question to you, sir.
Okay, so my thoughts on the main challenges for Webster Township is actually remaining Webster Township. We have a lot of development pressure from Ann Arbor, from Dexter Township. To be honest, I think maybe we should look into maybe becoming a charter township, because I don't really want to be annexed by Dexter or Ann Arbor. I totally agree with Mr. Kingsley about the fact that we need to like update our ordinances. We need to make them like easier for people to understand, make them practical, and protect like the property rights of the people who live here. I mean, they came here for, I mean, to be honest, like a little more freedom than they would have in a city. And I really kind of feel that, as long as you're not harming your neighbors that are creating nuisances, that we should be as, make less restrictive as we can. And I do understand that part of our ordinances were taken from other places, and they just don't really fit. And of course, I mean, the board and Mr. Kingsley have been working on it. I know there's some disappointment with how fast we go. We do like to have a consensus in the board, which is very important. And, but I do think we need to be able to just work on those things and keep working on those things. So.
Thank you, Mr. DeAngelo. And you're the first one on the next question. If you could change one thing in the township's zoning ordinance, what would it be and why?
Well, the big topic these days are animals on residential areas. The township is working on that because right now we only have, and we only allow animals that aren't covered under the Right to Farm Act. Within 5 acres or under 5 acres, you can't have anything. So the township is trying to make the ordinance less restrictive, but it is a very large problem because many people didn't even know they couldn't have animals. And there is still some confusion with the way that we're going to measure 5 acres, to be honest, or less, and how much is too much, and the other like the nuisances, and trying to make sure that we can basically protect neighbors from people who have all these animals so that their property rights are respected too. But that's what I think is like pretty much a very important part of the township right now.
Thank you, Mr. DeAngelo. And Mr. Kingsley, same question to you, sir.
I would like to do a little better job of coordinating our zoning ordinance with our nuisance ordinance. I think both of them need to have small tweaks. I think that Mr. DeAngelo clarified some of the situation where both neighbors in any type of situation have equal rights. And I think that the rule book, the zoning ordinance or the nuisance ordinance or whatever ordinance we may have on the books, needs to protect both of those people. And I think it needs to be clearly spelled out in advance what the rules of engagement are. I think that the average person doesn't sit down and read a 300 and some page zoning ordinance before they purchase their property. They don't even look at a master plan. Those are all part of doing your due diligence, but people get pretty excited about buying their new home and they don't look into all the nuts and bolts. We need to make the nuts and bolts more easily accessible. A couple of years ago, we did update our zoning or our website, and it makes it easy to search for anything you want to know about our zoning ordinance, but most people don't bother to do that, and that's where the conflicts arise.
Thank you, Mr. Kingsley. And you're the first one on the next question. In what civic or nonprofit organizations have you been active in recent years?
Well, I have not been active in many civic organizations in recent years. Our local Kiwanis Club went south because of lack of attendance and so on. I was a part of that. I have been a part of a lot of various things within the township. I worked on the Washtenaw County Broadband Task Force, which appears to have done an adequate job in an attempt to bring broadband to everybody within Washtenaw County. But most of my efforts have been here at the township. Like I said, Planning Commission, Township Trustee, and finally Supervisor, and appointing people, good people like Mr. DeAngelo to the Natural Features Committee.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. DeAngelo, same question to you, sir.
Well, it's a little interesting because in my previous position, I was very restricted as to what I could actually do outside of working for the court. However, luckily, I could, I guess my only nonprofit or outside participation was with the library board. And so I had it was an interesting eye opener as to like how to build a building and to deal with contractors. And I do really like, I was very happy actually to get appointed to that and also to the Natural Features Committee. But so that's my participation.
Thank you, sir. And you're the first on the next question. What makes Webster Township unique, and how will you work to preserve this uniqueness?
Well, as I was saying before, we have a lot of development pressures from Ann Arbor and Dexter Township and the city of Dexter too. Our uniqueness is basically the fact that we've remained more rural than anywhere around us. And so we have a lot of natural wildlife. We have a lot of natural features, including some protected rivers and streams. And I guess just the feel of the township is very unique when compared to, I mean, we are 15 minutes from Ann Arbor and totally in the country. So, and preserving that, of course, buying development rights and trying to support people who are trying to, continue their agricultural endeavors. And just, I mean, if we have growth, make it like, I guess it would be growth in the right spots in the township, perhaps with more infrastructure, like down near the party store, and just generally keep the master plan in mind, where we all want, I mean, right now, the majority of us all want to live in the same area. I mean, we're getting a little conflicts about how neighbors can get along with each other, but overall, I think we all share the same vision.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Kingsley, same question to you, sir.
Well, Webster Township is in a very unique position because we are on the outskirts of Ann Arbor and on the outskirts of the city of Dexter. And in terms of development pressure, it has been here for quite a while. But to offset that, our taxpayers have taxed themselves for our purchase of development rights. And we have over 2,700, almost 2,800 acres that can never be developed in our lifetime. So that part of the township is going to remain rural the rest of the township, of course, is going to have more pressure on it because there's less available sites, and we're a bedroom community. People want to live here because they can leave the city and live somewhat unimpeded as in the country life, the rural atmosphere, and the wonderful place that Webster Township is.
Thank you. And now this next question will be the last question. And the first answer and first question of this last question goes to you, Mr. Kingsley, which is renewal of the county-wide mental health and public safety millage is on the November ballot. Public health and safety millage, mental health and public safety millage. Do you support a renewal of this millage?
I don't like to support any new taxes, in spite of the fact that we had one on the August ballot that was a new tax. That being said, in our society today, there are more recognized mental health problems than I think we've ever had in history. And I think that has a lot to do with society. Some of it has to do with the COVID situation. I hate to say it, but I do support that millage because I think there's a tremendous need for it. Maybe not quite as much in Webster Township, but it's a little bit like our public safety. We hope that we aren't getting all we pay for in terms of either police protection or fire protection, but we have it there just in case. And I think in terms of the mental health millage, I feel the same way. I hope we don't need it in any drastic amount within Webster Township, but it's there in case we need it.
Thank you, Mr. Kingsley. And Mr. DeAngelo, same question to you, sir.
Well, I do support the mental health millage for a lot of the same reasons John does. It's a renewal. I don't think it's a new tax. And I realize that part of that millage doesn't actually go to us because it's going to go to townships with their own police departments, but the sheriff's department, which will actually be, I think, a de facto sheriff at this point. She has a lot of mental health background, and I do think that she has a lot of good ideas to make the money go to things that we actually need. Now, I agree with COVID. We have a lot of, weirdly enough, there's a lot of problems with our young people at this point. It's almost like they had PTSD from COVID. And I do think that training in general, we also have a lot of, not so much, obviously not in Webster Township, but in the countywide, we do have a lot of addiction. And I do believe that a lot of the underlying causes of that are mental health issues. I also totally agree with training our police departments to deal with people in mental health crises, because obviously we see on the news that when they aren't adequately trained, things can go wrong. And so I think, supporting mental health is definitely something that we have to continue to do, even though it'd be nice not to have to. So, okay.
Thank you, Mr. DeAngelo. And that completes our questions for this evening. We now move to closing statements. We'll begin with your closing statement, Mr. DeAngelo.
Oh, well, again, just running for Webster Township, I think my unique skills and knowledge will be helpful, especially in trying to corral the ordinances and make them a little more understandable. And I'm kind of looking forward to the opportunity to learn everything. A very quick study, I've kind of had to be, and I'm just glad to, I want to say thank you for everybody who voted for me in the primary, and just hoping that you feel that I'd be a good candidate.
Thank you, Mr. DeAngelo. And now, Mr. Kingsley, may we have your closing statement?
I think that there are more common goals between Mr. DeAngelo and me than what there are differences. I think that we both want to see the best that we can possibly provide for the taxpayers of Webster Township. And I support programs that will help us capture that goal. And that's our public safety, it's dealing with ordinance and revisions, and in a few years, master plan revisions, everything to keep Webster Township up to date with making this a great place to live.
Thank you, Mr. Kingsley. Thank you, Mr. DeAngelo. This completes our closing statements and it completes this valuable session. Thank you very much for participating in it with us.
Thank you.
The League thanks the candidates and volunteers who participated in today's forum and the community members who submitted questions. Please urge others to view our forums. And most importantly, please vote in the November 5th general election, either by absentee ballot or in person.